Let's end with what might be the most important truth of all transformation doesn't happen in the crowd. It happens in the mirror. See, you can come to every seminar, listen to every podcast, read every book, and still stay stuck. Why? Because information isn't transformation. You don't change by hearing something once. You change when you own it, when you stop outsourcing your power and finally take radical responsibility for your life. Not partial, not conditional, radical. That means no more blaming your past, your parents, the economy, your boss, your relationship, your genetics. None of it. Yes, all those things may be real. They may be part of your story. But they are not the end of your story, unless you let them be. This is where most people break down, because it's easier to stay in blame than it is to take ownership. Blame feels safer, familiar. It tells you you're not responsible, so you don't have to do anything different. But the moment you choose ownership, everything changes. You start moving from being a passive participant in your life to becoming the creator of your life. And let's be clear, ownership doesn't mean fault. If someone hurt you, if life knocked you down, if the circumstances were unfair, I'm not saying that's your fault. I'm saying the healing and the breakthrough, that's your responsibility now, because no one else is coming. You're the one you've been waiting for. And when you stop looking outward for permission and start looking inward for power, that's when the shift happens. Now here's the kicker. Radical responsibility is not a one-time thing. It's a daily choice, because your mind will keep trying to pull you back into the comfort of old stories. Stories like, I'm not enough, I don't have what it takes, or it's too late for me. These stories are seductive because they take the pressure off, but they also take your potential off the table. You want to know what keeps people stuck? It's not the lack of opportunities. It's the loop they're running in their mind. It's the repetition of disempowering beliefs. And those beliefs feel true because you've rehearsed them for so long, but just because you believe something for years doesn't make it true. It makes it familiar. And you've got to be willing to trade the familiar for the truth. The truth is you are capable of more than you've dared to believe. You are not your failures. You are not your fears. You are not your pain. You are the power that can transform all of those things. But that power only comes alive when you take ownership of your decisions, your direction, and your destiny. There's a quote I love, responsibility is the price of freedom. And it's true. You can't be free if you're constantly waiting for someone else to change. You can't be free if you're holding on to resentment. You can't be free if you're trying to rewrite the past. Freedom lives in the now, and ownership is how you claim it. So ask yourself, what are you still blaming? What story are you still telling yourself that keeps you small? What lie are you still using as an excuse to not show up fully? Because every time you blame, you give away your power. And every time you own it, even the hard stuff, you take that power back. This is not about guilt. It's about liberation. When you take responsibility for your life, you stop waiting. You stop hoping. You stop negotiating with fear. And you start creating. You start making moves instead of making excuses. You start living with a standard, not a story. Now look, this level of personal leadership isn't always easy. There will be days when you want to quit. Days when your emotions scream louder than your purpose. That's human. But leadership isn't about how you feel. It's about what you do, regardless of how you feel. You don't need to feel ready. You need to be willing. Willing to rise. Willing to face yourself. Willing to grow. When you step into that space, you stop waiting for certainty and start acting from clarity. And clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from moving, from doing, from owning every part of who you are, the good and the broken, the brave and the afraid, because all of it is part of your power. Let me tell you something that'll challenge you. If there's an area in your life that isn't working right now, it's because somewhere in there, you've tolerated it. You've made it acceptable. You've let it become your norm. And once you allow something to become normal, it becomes invisible. So part of radical responsibility is waking up to what you've been tolerating and then deciding no more. No more shrinking. No more waiting. No more blaming. No more almost becoming who you are. This is your life right here, right now. And no one can live it but you. You've got a voice. Use it. You've got a vision. Act on it. You've got power. Own it. Not someday. Not when it's convenient. Now. Because the truth is, no one's going to hand you your potential. No one's going to come and say, hey, it's your time. That's your job. That's your moment. And it starts with this choice. Will you take responsibility for the life you know you're meant to live? Don't just be inspired. Be activated. You've listened. You've learned. Now it's time to lead. Not just others, yourself. That's the final and greatest shift When you stop needing someone to rescue you and you start becoming the hero of your own story, you've got everything you need to build a life that reflects the fire inside you. So the only real question left is, why not now? Why not you?